Okay, let's be real. We're all surrounded by smart devices. Your TV, your thermostat, you name it. They're awesome. They make life easier. But they also have this hidden dark side. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the risks that are hiding inside pretty much everything we've connected to the internet. And we're going to start in a place you'd probably never guess, your kitchen.
I mean, it sounds completely absurd, right? Your fridge taking down the internet? Like, come on. But here's the crazy part. What if I told you the answer isn't just yes, it's that it has already happened?
So, back in late 2013, a security firm stumbled onto something huge, a massive cyber attack. We're talking more than 750,000 spam emails being blasted out from this network of hacked devices. And yeah, you guessed it, a chunk of that network was made up of compromised smart fridges. I'm not kidding. This isn't some movie plot. This is the reality we're living in.
All right, so let's start with the first and most personal circle of risk, the stuff we actually bring into our own homes. We invite these gadgets in because they're cool, they have all these neat features, but we rarely stop to think about what doors we might be leaving wide open.
And this right here, this is the hidden trade-off nobody talks about. You love that you can control your fridge temp from your phone, right? Well, that feature might be running on software that hasn't been updated in years. Those handy voice commands, probably protected by a super weak default password like admin or 1234 that nobody ever changes. The point is, every single feature we love can be hiding a serious risk, basically turning your fridge into a welcome mat for hackers to get into your entire home network.
And this is the absolute key, the real danger. There's a term for it in cybersecurity, lateral movement. Look, a hacker doesn't give a rip about your ice maker. They don't want to mess with your groceries. What they want is to use your fridge as a Trojan horse, a launch pad to jump over to the devices that really matter, like your laptop, your phone, where all your personal, juicy data is stored.
And believe me, this isn't just theory. These vulnerabilities have had some absolutely terrifying real-world consequences. We've seen webcams that let total strangers spy on families in their homes. Baby monitors that literally became a backdoor for hackers. There was even a flaw in a Samsung smart fridge that could let an attacker steal your Gmail login details. And the stakes can get so much higher. I mean, we're talking life or death when you hear about hackable pacemakers that could be remotely shut down. It's insane.
Okay, so that's the scary stuff happening inside our own homes. But what happens when we zoom out? What happens when we scale this up, when it's not just your house, but entire buildings, think offices, hospitals, apartment complexes, all running on these interconnected, smart systems?
Well, this kind of threat has its own pretty chilling name, siegeware. You've probably heard of ransomware, where hackers lock up your computer files. Siegeware is that, but for an entire building. The attackers don't just encrypt your data, they threaten to do real, physical things. Imagine them shutting off the heat in the middle of winter, or trapping people in elevators, or locking down all the doors. All until somebody pays a hefty ransom.
You know the huge Target data breach from a few years back? That's the perfect case study here. The hackers were clever. They didn't try to bash down the front door of Target's financial systems. No, they found a forgotten side entrance, the heating and air conditioning system. They hacked a small third-party HVAC company that worked with Target, stole their login info, and used that to sneak onto the main network. From there, they just moved sideways, that lateral movement again, until they hit the absolute jackpot. Millions of customer credit card numbers. It's such a stark reminder that your security is only as strong as your weakest link.
So you might be asking, why are these buildings so easy to hit? Well, this really breaks it down. A lot of it comes down to old legacy systems that were built way before anyone was thinking about cybersecurity. Then you've got these messy networks, where the system that controls the elevators is on the same network as the one with sensitive HR files. And of course, you see the same old culprits popping up again and again, software that never gets updated, and passwords that are still set to password 123. All right, now let's zoom out one more time to the biggest, city-sized threat. Because what happens when it's not just one hacked fridge or one compromised building, but millions and millions of devices all weaponized at the same time? This is where we have to talk about something called a botnet. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant digital zombie army. You've got all these everyday devices, webcams, printers, yeah, even smart fridges, and they've all been secretly infected with malware. Now, a single person, a botmaster, can control this whole army and command them to launch these huge coordinated attacks, all without the owners having a clue.
And the most infamous example of this has to be the Mirai botnet back in 2016. Its strategy was, well, it was brutally simple. The malware just constantly scanned the entire internet looking for IoT devices that were still using their factory default passwords. It would infect them, add them to the army, and move on. And then, this massive zombie network launched an attack on a company called Dyn, which is a major DNS provider. Think of DNS like the phone book for the internet. And the result? It was so powerful, it knocked huge chunks of the internet completely offline for hours.
And just look at who got hit. We're talking about household names here. Twitter, Reddit, Netflix, CNN. You couldn't get to them. This wasn't some minor glitch. This was a massive, crippling disruption, and it was all caused by an army of cheap, insecure webcams and other simple gadgets with bad passwords.
But here's the thing. Botnets aren't just for causing widespread chaos online. They can also be aimed like a weapon for surgical strikes against critical infrastructure. And get this, in 2021, the U.S. Secret Service uncovered this incredibly sophisticated plot, and it was aimed right at the heart of New York City. The scale of this thing was just huge.
When investigators raided these locations all across New York, they seized over 100,000 SIM cards.
Then, they found hundreds of servers just humming away in empty apartments, all part of this secret network.
And what was the point of all of this hardware? The goal was to build a system that could blast out 30 million anonymous text messages every single minute. That's enough to completely jam and cripple the entire telecommunications grid for all of New York City.
Okay, I know. After hearing all that, it is really easy to feel kind of hopeless. But you're not powerless here. So the big question is, what can we actually do about it? Let's talk about how to build up our digital defenses, starting in your own home and then looking at the bigger picture.
First up, let's talk about what you personally can control. Think of this as your personal cybersecurity toolkit.
Okay, so this is basically your first line of defense checklist. Seriously, do these things. First, use strong, unique passwords for everything. A password manager makes this a total breeze. Second, if a service offers two-factor authentication or 2FA, turn it on. Just do it. Now here's a real pro tip. Set up a separate guest Wi-Fi network just for your smart devices. That way, if your smart light bulb gets hacked, the attacker is trapped there and can't get to your laptop with all your important files. And for the love of all that is holy, please install those software updates when they pop up. They're not just annoying notifications, they contain crucial security patches that fix these exact kinds of problems. But look, what you do at home is just one piece of the puzzle, right? Real, lasting security has to come from a much bigger, system-level approach. We need businesses and governments to step up too. So on that larger scale, what does that look like? Well, for businesses, it means doing things like segmenting their networks, keeping the AC controls away from the financial data. For the companies that make this stuff, it means they have to start prioritizing security from day one, not just tacking it on at the end. And we are seeing governments get involved with things like the U.S. Cyber Trust Mark. It's a great idea, basically like a nutrition label, but for cybersecurity, so you know what you're getting before you buy it.
And that brings us full circle. We live in this amazing world of incredible convenience. We've connected everything from our coffee makers to our city's power grid. But we have to remember that with every single new connection we add, we also create a new potential weakness, a new door for someone to break in. So the final question, the one we all have to keep asking ourselves is this: are we building our defenses as fast as we're building out this connected world?